Hello, and welcome to Ghoulish, a podcast hosted by me, Max Booth, a host. Ghoulish is a podcast why Max Booth, a host, speaks to someone else who's also into creepy, little spooky, little terrifying things. On today's episode of Ghoulish, a podcast hosted by me, Max Booth, a host, I am talking with Sadie Hartmann, who is the co-founder of Night Rooms, and she also reviews a bunch of stuff for magazines like Scream magazine and Ginger Nuts of Hole and what's that little place called? Oh yeah, Cemetery Dance. Speaking of Cemetery Dance, they have my new novel, Touch the Night, available to pre-order right now. So go on over to cemeterydance.com. Click on Touch the Night. Click on pre-order. Check out. And then, maybe in June, that book will arrive in your mailbox and you can read it and you can go, oh my God, I'm glad I listened to that host of that podcast back in January or whenever you happen to listen to this podcast. That was a smart move. That was a good investment on my part. You'll feel proud of yourself, and then you will have an enjoyable read. Touch the Night by me, Max Booth, and author. Today I have Sadie Hartmann on the program. We are talking about an odd topic. A while back, on the whole social medias, I posted something along the lines of, hey, if you could talk about any subject for a half hour, what would it be? Mostly because I was trying to find new topics and guest ideas for this podcast, Ghoulish, hosted by me, Max Booth, a host. And Sadie Hartmann happened to comment that she could talk about what makes a whole book a book and what makes a whole movie a movie. So, without further ado, I have invited Sadie Hartmann on the podcast, which again is called Ghoulish. It is a podcast hosted by me, Max Booth, a host. And she's going to tell me what makes a book and a movie right now. Do you want to introduce me?
No, I'm your guest.
Oh, okay. I've always wanted to try that, and I did, and it didn't work.
Yeah, I'm sorry it didn't pan out for you this time.
I'll try the next episode I do. I don't know who that's going to be with, but I don't know. So we had some trouble with Skype a second ago, and I get the feeling you got a bit afraid. You got some cold feet. Is this true?
No, it was just really some technical difficulties. I'm not afraid of you.
I think you might have gotten a little bit intimidated, to be honest.
Max.
I think anyone who follows us on social media, they've been viewing the feud we've had, and you know what, Sadie? I think they might be a little bit frightened that this isn't going to end well for you.
For me?
Yeah, for you.
You know what I was doing yesterday?
No.
I was at the gym lifting weights.
Do you know what? You want to know something? I have an older sibling named Jim. What now, Sadie?
Is his name Jim the Third?
No, his name is actually James Brown, and that's not a joke.
Oh, I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, he's a shithead. I hate him. Moving on.
Moving on.
Recently, I made a tweet which asking the whole universe to weigh in on what would be one topic they thought they could discuss somehow related to this spooky genre we all love. And you decided to comment. You said you could talk about what makes a movie and what makes a book.
Yeah. I mean, well, specifically, what makes a horror book a different experience than watching a movie?
Okay, now I thought that was interesting, so I invited you on Skype. And I have some ideas as well, but since you are my guest who refused to introduce me, I will let you begin.
You know what?
What did
I
you mean
can
by that?
totally introduce you.
It's too late, Sadie!
I can do what I want.
Okay.
Okay. So, introducing everyone, Max Booth III, legendary author, prankster, podcaster, and anything else he wants to ascribe to.
Hey, wow, thank you so much for having me on. I'm a big fan of the show, and this is a great honor. Thank you so much, Sadie.
Great. Now it's my show and I'm the guest, so
Yeah.
I get to do all the talking.
Excellent, thank God.
Great. Great. Okay, so it's interesting to me that when I tell people who don't really know me what I kind of do for a living, which is, a Nightworms subscription to horror books, and also I read and review horror for various different platforms. I'm always kind of met with the same weird grimace on their face. And if you spend any time talking to these people who have this reaction, eventually it comes to light that they sort of think that reading horror books is a very similar experience to going to a horror movie. They think that it is a genre that is full of blood, guts, gore, jump scares, um, you know, demonic imagery, and just a lot of dark, bloody, yucky stuff. That's kind of my impression, is that people just kind of link the two together. And it's been my experience that I really have a hard time watching horror movies, and I have a very limited experience with them. I don't watch horror movies often, and when I do, I'm genuinely freaked out, and oftentimes I'll just turn it off. Like I just can't handle some of the stuff that is in a horror movie versus the same kind of things that I can read in a book. And I think the major difference is, I think, trust. I have come to trust a lot of the horror authors that I read, and the imagery that they kind of spell out for you or paint is vivid, but it kind of has its limitations. Does that make sense? Like, I can work together in tandem with an author on the imagery that is in my brain, and I can kind of tamp it down where I want to.
Yeah.
Whereas a movie is just full exposure.
Yeah, with a book, you can set your own pace, but with a movie, you just have to kind of sit and become a witness. But with a book, you interact with it, you turn the page.
Right. Yeah. It's interactive in that I can keep going, or I can pause, or I can kind of skim through something that is causing me some discomfort. And it's the same with a movie. You can look away, but um, it's definitely more of like a captive audience. Like if I'm in a theater, like I was when I watched, my husband and I went and saw Hereditary, you're kind of a captive audience. There was no place I could go other than just get out of my seat and leave the theater, which I wasn't going to do.
Yeah. What did you think of the movie besides, being a bit freaked out?
No, it straight up terrified me. Like I had um, a very like physical reaction to that movie. Like I was kind of climbing up the back of the seat, like trying to get the far away as I could from the screen and what was being shown to me. And then later on, my husband and I like processed it in the car, like talking about it. And then we went back to the hotel room because it was my birthday. So we were having this whole like weekend, and I just could not go to sleep. Like my husband's just sawing logs, on the other side of the bed, and I kept visualizing, the um, character that was like kind of hanging out in the corner of the room, like going up the wall. Yeah, I kept like visualizing that. I could not. I had to sleep with the light on, and I ended up watching. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was watching some fishing videos.
Do you often watch fishing videos?
I never watch fishing videos, but it seemed to be the most wholesome thing on TV at the time.
Are we talking videos of someone fishing or just fish swimming?
It was videos of people fishing. It was really boring, and it was exactly what I needed.
Have you ever read a book about someone fishing?
I've read The Fisherman.
Ooh. Shout out to The Fisherman, yeah.
Yeah, super good.
Can you imagine that as a movie?
I could totally see that as a movie. Sort of like, did you see The Lighthouse this year?
I did.
Yeah, sort of like that. I could see The Fisherman being a movie like that.
So how did you take The Lighthouse then?
Okay, so the interesting thing about that movie, I feel like the black and white really lends itself to creating a more accessible environment for me because I grew up watching black and white movies, and they're kind of safe. Like, like old black and white movies never really went there. Like if you watch, old kind of scary or creepy movies like, what was that one with Bette Davis where she was kind of like a kooky lady, and something about Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. It's really creepy. It's really unsettling, but it's black and white, and you just kind of like know that it's not going to go someplace that you wouldn't want it to.
Oh, that brings me to my next question. What did happen to Baby Jane?
Well, that's a spoiler.
Okay.
I can't. Don't you want to watch it? Did you not see it?
I don't watch movies.
That's a lie.
I love The Lighthouse, but I understand what you mean. How like the black and white could provide some type of safety, but at the same time, like speaking on my own personal experience, that movie almost gave me a goddamn panic attack.
Yeah. What? So like what particular like the climactic scenes maybe, or
I would say yes when oh fuck, now I'm gonna spoil things.
I know, huh?
Let's just spoil all these movies.
Okay, spoiler alert, everyone. Don't listen if you haven't seen The Lighthouse.
No, I mean all the movies.
Actually, you know what, though? It was a very limited release, that movie, and so, like, not a lot of people got to go see it.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil that.
We don't want to.
But if anyone gets a chance to see it, go see that movie. I loved it so much.
We could spoil Star Wars.
I could, but I mean, okay, I'll spoil every one of those movies. A planet is being threatened, and then good fights evil, and then good wins, and they have a parade.
And Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's dad.
What?
Did you know that?
No.
Sorry.
Who's Luke Skywalker?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Sorry. Major spoiler.
My favorite scene in those Star Wars movies is when Luke and Yoda are driving away from that house party, and fucking Yoda gets decapitated by that light pole. Gets me every time.
And there's ants crawling all over his face.
Yeah.
That part sucks.
It was a bold choice in the narrative, but I respect it.
Yeah, it was really startling. The movie just went for an unexpected turn after that.
Yeah, he kind of just like ran away and lived in a lighthouse, and he found like Chewbacca laying on the rocks, and he had sex with it. It was insane.
I like this. What else do we have to say about how books are different? I do have something else I want to say about how books are different.
Okay, go ahead.
So we talked about how authors are really trustworthy, and you could say the same thing about directors. You could say, well, I find that there's certain directors who I really like, their style and the way that they direct a movie, the way that they, reveal things, etc. But at the same time, a director is sort of the keeper of the story, and it is shown to you the way the director wants to show it to you. Whereas in a book, every single reader comes to that book and engages with it in a different way. And you could say the same thing about movies, I'm sure. Like, oh, well, I had this experience with that movie. I mean, I know people who saw Hereditary and didn't think it was scary at all, and or hated it.
Same.
But
Yeah.
but I mean, yeah, and with books, it's the same. Like, oh, well, I didn't think that that book was scary, or people will say, well, I thought that it was a horrible book, and other people really loved it. But the cool thing is that every single experience with the book is going to translate different in the reader's mind, because all of our minds are different. So the imagery is going to be totally different. A director definitely has a vision, and there's actors and actresses interpreting those characters for us. They look like they're people. You know what I mean? Like, the people that I visualize in a story isn't going to look the same as the way you visualize them, because you have a horrible imagination.
I do. Yeah, that's true.
So,
It's one thing
already I'm
anyone
going to
knows
have a
about
better
me.
experience.
Something else I would say that is different between books and movies. In a movie, you look at a screen and it's visual, but with a book, you have to read text.
Hmm.
So that's a big difference, I think.
It's a very obvious
Although,
difference.
is it though? Because think about this: closed captioning. What do you think about that?
Hmm.
It's almost
Well,
like
I mean, if
reading a
you
book.
were reading a book and watching it at the same time,
Yeah. Do you
but
do
is it the same?
subtitles?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, well, I mean, for foreign movies, obviously, because I don't speak the language, but I also watch shows like Peaky Blinders, where they have like a heavy Irish brogue, and you miss a lot because they're talking quietly, or their accent's really heavy. So I watch it with subtitles.
I once bought one of those hats because I liked the show, and I put it on, and I thought, nope.
Maybe you needed the razor blade inside the bill.
Oh, that's a good point. I think I use subtitles on basically anything. It kind of seems strange when I don't have them on. I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
because you could miss a lot.
It's kind of frustrating that when you read a book, there's no like subtitle option. You know.
I don't know how that would work.
Well, basically, you would just click a button, and then it would show what's happening via like a visual screen.
So, like when you're turning the pages, you click a button.
Yeah, like those books with buttons on them.
Are you talking about a Kindle, or are you talking about a book?
I'm talking about a book, Sadie.
Do we live in the same universe, Max Booth?
I
The
mean,
third?
I am Skyping you on my clam phone, so I don't know.
That's TMI.
Did you see It Follows?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, then my joke doesn't make any sense.
So that, and I do often get left out of important conversations on Twitter between people in the horror community, because I'm definitely there for book conversation, but when it turns to movie conversation, I'm really just an observer. I mean, I've seen a lot of horror movies, like we just talked about Hereditary and The Lighthouse, and I saw Doctor Sleep, and I saw It Chapter 2. But that's pretty much it for horror this year.
No, do you know what I found out recently? Those last two movies you mentioned, based on novels.
Yeah, tons. Tons of horror movies are based on novels.
That is crazy. I didn't know you could do that.
Aw. Yeah, that happens quite a bit.
What's one recent movie conversation you found left out of? I can I'll fill you in.
Oh, well, it's actually really cool because people like Adam Caesar, who write books that are very kind of an homage to horror movies, kind of fill in the gaps for me. So Like I read Tribesman, which was based, well, not based, but like loosely inspired by those cannibal movies.
Yeah, Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah, see, like I would never watch a movie like that, but I can read Adam's books and I kind of feel like I'm part of the conversation now. But like Midsummer, I after watching Hereditary and having just like the most horrific experience with that movie, I decided not to see Midsummer, but I really enjoyed kind of observing conversation about it between people who really loved it or hated it.
Yeah, I would recommend not watching it if you had an issue with the last one. This one I would say is way more intense somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also really good. Don't let Paul Tremblay know I said that.
Yeah, I've actually like have tried to convince him to tell me all the reasons why he hated it because I don't know if you feel the same way, but listening to people talk about something they hated can be almost as satisfying as listening to people talk about something they really love.
Oh yeah, definitely. My favorite podcast is something called We Hate Movies. So yeah,
That sounds fun.
it's pretty good. Did you just detect a loud noise on my end? Was
It sounded like you were kind of in a wind tunnel.
fucking jets will flying over my house. I think I'm about to get bombed.
I did hear that. You might want to go secure the house.
I don't know what happened. I don't want to check what's trending right now.
Yeah, don't. Ignorance is bliss in this case.
Okay, what else? Movies and books. So you would say you are pro book and I am pro movie.
Are you?
Oh no.
We've made this distinction?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I don't read books. I only watch movies, and you only read books, is what we decided on.
That sounds like a really extreme version of what we've talked about.
I mean, I was only kind of listening, so I once posed this question to a friend of mine who also writes, and I said, if you had to give up one thing, writing or reading, what would you do? And he said reading, and I think that's a bullshit response because I
Wow.
don't think he can write if he can't read.
Yeah, I've heard that argument before. Like if you don't read, then you really shouldn't be in the business of writing. And I made the total opposite choice where I felt like I was dabbling in writing a little bit and enjoying it, but it really got in the way of my reading, so I kind of sacrificed the writing for reading. I'm a fan. I'm a fan versus a participator.
Did you stop completely?
Writing, yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, I write reviews, but
Right.
in terms of like fiction, yeah, I just don't. I'd rather read.
Okay, I mean, I agree. I
And
don't, yeah.
I think that one really good reason why you should be a reader if you're a writer is um I think that there's so much stuff coming out, like you really should be informed about what's already kind of on the table. I mean, if you're going to stand on the shoulder of like giants, like you should probably know what's already been established. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think I would do that because I am extremely clumsy and I think I would fall. But I do,
Well, everyone's a giant for you though, right, Max?
I wish.
Boom. Mic drop.
Well, I guess you won this episode, Sadie.
I'm pretty sure I did.
Yeah, I think, audience, you decide. Leave a review on iTunes at Ghoulish and, make it 5 stars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We deserve it.
yeah, this has been an episode. Sadie, how can folks find you online?
They can find me at Sadie Hartmann or Mother Horror across all the social media platforms: Goodreads, Amazon, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. What else is out there?
Snapchat.
Not on Snapchat. It's for babies.
I think something is called TikTok. Are you on TikTok? Is that a thing?
Not.
Do you
Not.
know what that is?
It looks like viral videos.
Oh, nice. I
Is
want to
that
go.
what it is?
I want to go viral.
Like Vines. Do you remember Vines?
It was called Veens.
Shit.
I have no idea.
Hi, I'm 43, kids.
No, I mean, I think you're right. I was just being a dickhead.
Oh,
It's probably called Vines. That makes the most sense.
vines or memes or memes,
Yeah,
gifs.
you've
What do you
begun
say?
making a memes kind of with your new book reviews.
Oh yeah, huh?
You should
My
make a
little review
Vine.
cards.
You should make book review Vines.
Nah.
Okay. You could TikTok some reviews. I don't know what that means, but you could do it.
You TikTok reviews.
I can't do that. Not after what the judge said. So, all right, this has been a fun episode, Sadie. Thanks for talking about how much you hate reading books.
You are welcome, Max Boot the Turd.
What? Did you like what you just listened to? Of course you did. It was a great episode of a podcast which I called Ghoulish, hosted by me, Max Booth, a host. And that was Sadie Hartmann, a guest. You can go and follow her on TikTok and Snapchat only, and she can talk about how she hates reading books. Pretty controversial opinion, but hey, I don't judge my guests. I just let them speak freely. If you liked the episode, go rate and review it on iTunes. Go pre-order my new novel, Touch the Night. Support the program on Patreon at patreon.com/PMM Publishing. Once we begin making 500 bones a month, we will release episodes of Ghoulish 2 times a week. That's 2 times a week. That's one more time than once a week. But 1 time less than 3 times a week. If you can believe it, guys. If you can fucking believe it. So until then, live spooky, die spooky.